And then this entire session I'm going to run from screen share. So in fact, let me turn that on right now. Okay, I'm recording, and here comes the screen share. All right, and just to confirm, are you seeing what's on my screen? You should be seeing what looks like a Google Slides presentation. Is that what you see? Go ahead and type it. Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen, sorry. Great. And just to also confirm, you don't see the Skype stuff hanging over top of my screen, right? You just see the Google slide presentation? You do. Okay. You see a picture of Josh there and your names. Okay. Then I'm just going to minimize all of that. Okay. So we're looking at. The thing is, I'm not going to be able to see you chatting if I do that. So here, I'm going to bring this down here so I'll be able to see you chatting. Okay, cool. So this entire slide deck, the presentation I'm going to show you, talk about Google Keep here today, and talking about how we can ditch the agenda book. So this entire slide deck is from that URL. So if you want to bring up a second device and you want to scan that QR code, or if you want to type in that URL, all the slides, everything, if you want to go back and look at it again, are from that URL, which is bit.ly/ditchtheagendabook 2017. So now's a moment to type that in, or what I think is a better strategy maybe is just to take a picture of that now, and then you can type it in later. Of course, I'm recording this, so you can always pause it when you go back and look at it. But I'm vamping right now for you to bring out your QR code and scan it, or to type it into your device. I tried to make it a URL that was memorable, bit.ly/ditchtheagendabook 2017. Because that's really what this presentation is all about. It's about how students can never miss another assignment, and we're going to be specifically looking at a feature called, a tool called Google Keep. Cool. If you don't know me, my name is Chris Bugaj, and I work in the assistive technology realm. So everything I sort of view is through this accessibility lens and working with students with disabilities. Okay, so there it is. That's the name of the title. A surefire way to help students never miss another assignment. And I want to start with a little research that you might not know this, but your brain hates you, right? You think that so many people think they're really good at multitasking, but research upon research, and that's what some of these links take you to, are research articles that show that when you're focused, when your brain is focused on more than one thing, especially when it's an active thing, you really can't do any of the things well. Your brain really only works at focusing on one thing at a time. So right now, if I was also trying to type an email and do this presentation at the same time, I would really struggle. If I had a television on and I was trying to watch the hockey game, and I was also trying to answer some emails, I might be really good at answering those emails and then be distracted by the hockey game, or I might be like focused on the hockey game and have a hard time answering those emails. Doing both is really not something your brain is equipped to do. On top of that, another reason your brain really hates you, and why it maybe hates students, is that our short-term memory really sucks. We can remember maybe 5 to 7 things. We can hold it in our memory for a few minutes, and then we forget. And this is why when we're going to the grocery store, we make a list. This is why when we have the agenda book in the first place for students, is that they don't have to remember what the assignment was going to be. They can just write it down in the agenda book. Something else that our brain really sort of needs is the way to get our thoughts out. Have you ever been, in the like ready to go to sleep at night, and you roll over and you can't go to sleep, and you can't do it because you have this thought, right, that's lingering in your brain, and you're reeling with it. You're reeling with it, and so you could roll over and you write that idea down. and then it's out of your brain and you can finally go to sleep, right? The other phenomena that happens is, I've heard it called the portal phenomena or the door phenomena, where you pull into your driveway, you pull into your garage, you get out of the car, and the thought you had in the car, you had to remember to do this thing, it jumps out of your brain the second you walk through the car door. Or you had this idea while you're sitting in your room, you walk out of the room, you walk down the hallway to go get a cup of coffee or something, and you're like, wait, what was that thought I just had? Just the act of leaving the room made you forget what you were trying to think of. And again, getting those ideas out in some way. Traditionally, we've done this with checklists or a little notepad, but those have some issues. For instance, organizing resources. Just yesterday, I was working with a teacher at Harmony, and I said, hey, could you sign into your Google account for me? And she's like, oh, geez, Google account. I haven't used that in a while since I went to the training. I don't know, it's over here in one of these notebooks someplace. She pulls out 4 spiral bound notebooks and she's rifling through them. I know I wrote it down here somewhere. She didn't have the idea to write it down. She knew she'd need it again, but she didn't know how to keep it organized, really. I mean, it took her a few minutes to find it out. Is it in this notebook, that notebook? And I don't think this is an uncommon practice for teachers or students where they write something down, but they're not sure where they put it again later, 3 months from now. They need it, but where did I put that thing? So how do you organize it? How do you find it again? And then maybe in our new fandangled way, our new world, our 21st century world, we need to be thinking about how I can collaborate and share those things that came out of my head. How do I, if I want to collaborate with Josh, how do I send it to him? How do I, hey Josh, here's this idea. Is it email? And then Josh says, well, yeah, thanks for the email, Chris, but right now I don't have time to think about your crazy idea. Let me come back to that 3 months from now when I'm going to look at it, and then it's lost in his email. Is there a good way we can share our resources? And that students can, right? When they're working collaboratively, we look at those C's that we talk about, right? Collaboration is one of them. Communication is another one, and that really has to do with sharing resources and sharing ideas. So yeah, please pony it, right? So traditionally, I think way teachers and people have organized it, and I think students in some respects have organized their information is they put them in filing cabinets, right? You go to a staff meeting where your principal gives you this piece of paper and maybe it's got a bunch of resources on math, right? And so it's like, here are 10 resources to help your students do better in math. And so you got this piece of paper, and now you go back to your office, your room, your home, wherever your filing cabinet is, and you're like, okay, I got to put this in my filing cabinet so I don't forget it, because I need these resources later. I need this piece of paper that my administrator gave me. And so now you have a decision to make. Which filing cabinet, because maybe you have more than one filing cabinet. Okay, now you've decided which filing cabinet, but which drawer do you put it in? Okay, I'm going to put it in the resources drawer. You open up that drawer, and in there's a bunch of file folders. There's one that says math. Should you put it in the math folder? Well, wait a second. There's also one that's memos from principals during staff meetings. Should it go in there? Well, wait a second. What if it... on that piece of paper, it's got fraction resources and algebra resources and how to have the math resources read aloud. So which folder does it go in? Does it go in the fractions one? Does it go in the algebra one? Does it go in the math one? Does it go... It's confusing. And wherever you put it, you're guaranteed, because you can't remember all this stuff, to forget it 3 months from now. Okay, where did I put that thing? And then the next math one you get, the next math resources, the next memo, the whole cycle starts again. Well, where do I put it? And you might make a different choice this time, which leads to disorganization. Which those filing cabinets, which seemed like such a great idea back in the day, really don't make sense anymore in our digital world, or because we don't even need a filing cabinet. What we need is a way to search it. All I need to remember is, oh, I put it someplace and it was called something like math, maybe it had algebra, and then you can go find it later wherever you've put it, because you can search your digital archives. And so the way that I tuss that all out with students is that students are wrestling with that day in, day out for every class they attend. What you're looking at here is a student that has their agenda book, right? And let me just ask you, does this look like a typical agenda book to you? No worry, Josh. Does that look like a typical agenda book agenda book to you. And let me ask you this. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, right, Victoria? So I said I work with students with disabilities. What disability do you think this student has? Kathleen, Victoria? What do you think? What disability does this student have? Don't know, right? Okay. Kathleen? Your son, how old is he, Kathleen? What grade is he in? He's in 8th, okay. Well, oh, he's 8th, 3rd grade, gotcha, okay. So would you be surprised if I told you that this particular student doesn't have a disability as far as we know? This, Kathleen, is my son, right? This is what his agenda book looks like. He's in 6th grade, and he doesn't have, he's never had handwriting instruction. So we're growing up in a world where you don't have handwriting instruction. So he gets his ideas out just like this. And he has to scribble down what he's going to do in language arts, and his teacher actually checks it. You can see that she signs off on it. But in mathematics, he has to write it down. In social studies, he has to write it down. And his handwriting's, he knows it's not a strong suit for him. And the thing is, many students are like this. Would you agree? I mean, Kathleen, you said that as you were reading. This looks like my son's. Yeah, absolutely, right? Many kids have this issue. Where now they go back, maybe they were diligent about writing it down, and maybe they put it in the right place. Maybe they did exactly what their teacher said, but then what's some issues with the agenda book? They leave it in their locker, or they left it back at school. I forgot it. The pages get ripped out. Their handwriting, even though they wrote it down, they can't necessarily read it. Maybe someone else scribed it in for them, but maybe they have reading difficulties, so you can't like highlight the word and have it read aloud. Someone has to read it to you. This thing is sort of old school. Plus, it's also not searchable, not shareable. You can't really give it to anybody else in an easy way where they can collaborate with you. And just in case you think, well, okay, maybe this is, just this particular school uses this. We've already ditched the agenda book, right? We don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. This is kind of a one-shot deal. I'm going to show you that on the following slides, that's the pieces of paper that come home every day with him. This is handwriting that he struggles with. That's a science worksheet, so it's not just his agenda book that he's struggling with. And all of those things are still in play. It's not digital. He can't read it. He has trouble writing it. What kind of message are we sending to him about his education? About what kind of learner he is when he looks at that and knows, geez, he knows that it doesn't look great. So there's all the paperwork that comes home on any given day. You dump out his backpack, there's all the papers. So what I'm really advocating for with that ditching the agenda book is a new way. And that's something, the tool that I'm going to show you now, I'm going to jump over live, is something called Google Keep and how it interfaces with Google Calendar. So Google Keep is something I've been using for maybe a year now, and I've been doing a bunch of sessions with it at the middle and high school level, but it could work at any level. When students have a Google account, and maybe your school's a Google school, or maybe it's turning into a Google school, or the way that works is that you can ask your principal if you'd like to be a Google Classroom, and you can get Google accounts. There's a whole way of doing that in Loudoun. Where you write Jason Roby, and he'll set you up with Jason Roby's one of the TRTs, and he'll set you up with Google accounts if you have permission from your principal. But many schools are already have Google accounts, and their students already have Google accounts. And for the middle and high school, if you're over the age of 13, you can create your own personal Google account. So anyway, let me show you some of the function, because we could do a whole session just on how to get Google accounts. But let's assume your students already have a Google account. Let's assume you already have a Google account. What you're looking at is My Google Keep, right? And basically the way it works, this is the web-based version. No, there's an iOS app. No, there's a Droid app, an Android app. But so the two primary ways I interface with Google Keep is on my phone using the app, and then using this interface. So anytime I have a thought, like I need to put the recording from Digital Learning Day into the appropriate place, right? I have this thought. Notice, look, I spelled place wrong. I have digital tools to tell me I spelled it wrong. I got the little squiggly, so I can fix that, you know. Right? And I can just hit done, and it's going to just add it to my list of all the other stuff. So I'm going to do that right now. Boom, there it goes. And you'll note here it says others. Here's all the other thoughts that I've had recently, right? And so just to get my thoughts out, there they go. So you can sort of imagine a student having to write an assignment. Okay, what's the assignment that that the teacher wants me to do? It's read pages 33 through 36, you know, and done. It's out of their head, and it's right here in their list of things they need to do. So that helps them get their thoughts out. It would help you get your thoughts out. Imagine how many times a day you have a thought and you just want to write it down, you want to get it out, and you could do that right on your phone with an app like this. It syncs up. If I were to type this on my phone, you would see it would appear right here as the other. It syncs up because it's based in the cloud. And again, just a way of getting your thoughts out, getting your assignments down. But again, it's not really organized in any way. It's just a puking of what's popping up in my brain right now. Hey, I just had this thought, I got to get it out, right? What you'll notice here in some of the is that there's something down at the bottom, these little gray boxes. So let me move this out of the way for a second and scroll down. You'll notice a bunch of these have these little gray boxes. This one says calendar slide ideas. This one says new AT book ideas, right? And what those are called labels. So when I said read pages, let me go back and click on that again. Bring it back up. Right? These three little dots say more, and what I can do is add a label to it. So let's say this was my biology assignment, right? That's what I was supposed to read, and I can create a biology label. But maybe it's not just label. Maybe it's everything. Maybe it wasn't just biology. Maybe that really had to do with the cell unit. So I can add cells. It could be 2 labels. Both of those have to do with science. So maybe I can have a science label, right? Maybe as a teacher, if I had this idea that popped up, I could say that this has to do with my biology 3rd block class, you know, if I was a teacher, you know. And notice how I'm adding all of these they're called labels, or I think of them as tags. So then I hit done, and there are those labels. Any one of those are hyperlinks now, so I can click and see what else I have previously labeled as science, as cells, as biology. Let's click on science. You'll note that somewhere in the past I created something that also had science. And over on the left-hand side, there are all of my labels. So anything that I've ever created as a label shows up there. So for instance, I work in assistive technology. We do a lot of stuff with communication devices. And if I'm doing research and I'm finding information out there on the web, I can save it to my Google Keep, and I tag those things with augmentative communication as AAC. AAC means augmentative communication. So any thought I have on AAC, I add that as a label, and there they are, all organized. If I get to go to a conference, here's all the stuff I learned at a particular conference because I used that label for all my sessions that I went to at a conference. If I'm learning more, we make this thing called the Strategy a Day calendar. If I have ideas that need to go in the Strategy a Day calendar, there they are. And so the equivalent to this for students is writing down their assignments, typing their assignments in, and then be able to organize them by, well, let me just look at all my math stuff. Let me look at all of my biology stuff. Let me see what's coming up. Right? That's a way to get the notes out. And one of the reasons I really love it is that you can go back and search it. I don't remember if I called it science or biology or what. So I'm going to go over here and do a search for science. And now here's anything that ever had the word science in it. Right? You'll also notice that some of them I was able to, let me just go back to my, getting out of my search, go back to my notes. You'll note that some of these things, if it's really important, I can pin it to the top so it doesn't get lost. Okay, this is really important. I need to do this. I'm going to pin it, and it's going to stay there. So as I puke up my ideas, my most important ideas are right here. You'll notice you can have change things into a checklist. So I can go over here and say, show checkboxes, and it'll put little checkboxes. And the reason that's so cool is that it adds the gratification of crossing things out when you're done. It's my to-do list. I love crossing stuff out. It feels good to cross things out. Well, you can do that. Another benefit of it is that it works with, again, I'm looking at it from a special needs perspective. Well, let's say I have all of my notes written out here, and I have trouble reading this word. What's this word? Ammer something? Ammer? I can click on Read and Write for Google Chrome. It's an extension we have that if you're a student that has a Google account through Loudon, you have Read and Write for Google Chrome. It's this purple puzzle piece that hovers up here. But you hit the hover speech, and I can hover over words, and it's going to read stuff out loud to me. So it's a really cool, slick feature. There's a lot of other features. I can record my voice, and it will do speech to text and type it out while also maintaining the integrity of the recording. So I can go back and check the what I tried to say. But the last feature I want to show you in the last 2 or 3 minutes of this session is the reminders feature. So let's say I'm a student that I'm sitting in class and the teacher says, okay, remember, Friday's the test. You got to study for it on Thursday night. Study for your big test. So the student might say, study for biology test, right? And note the very first thing here. It says, remind me. And it's a little icon of a hand that has a little circle around the finger, which really represents like tying a ribbon around the finger. So I'm going to hit that and hit remind me when it says, hey, it looks like you're trying to set up a reminder. Chris, when do you want to be reminded? Well, okay, do I want to be reminded later today or tomorrow? All right, the test, let's say the test is on Friday. I'm just going to set whatever the date and time is, right? I can pick a date and time, but just for giggles right now and to keep it short, I'm going to say it's tomorrow at 8 a.m. is when I want to be reminded of this thing. So then I hit done, right? It has created a reminder. Go over here to my reminders, and you can see there's my study for biology test. That's cool. But it also automatically populates over to my Google Calendar. And so you can see, here's my Google Calendar. It said tomorrow. I chose tomorrow at 8 a.m. Well, there it is, tomorrow at 8 a.m. There's the little reminder. And the reason it has that little icon of a hand with the little piece of yarn on the finger is that if I don't do something, if I don't mark this as done or delete this, it's going to follow me every day. So that's going to follow me till Sunday. It's going to move over to Monday. It's going to move over to Tuesday, just like a piece of yarn or a string on my finger. Until I physically pull that string off, it's going to be on my finger. That's the same thing here. Until I actually do something with this, it's going to keep following me, pestering me. I got to study for my bio test. I got to study for my bio test. So that is Google Keep in a nutshell. There's some other cool features about it, but I just want to turn the last 2 or 3 minutes over to any questions you might be having about how Google Keep might work. Yeah, Kathleen, what I would say is download it on your phone and play with the interface, but really just try it over spring break. You know, that would be a good test, is to see how it works, because really it's sort of intuitive. That's how Google, that's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Google. It's sort of intuitive. There's not a big learning curve. You just type and type. You know, I mean, type and hit done, type and hit done. And even if you don't hit done, it's saving it. So any other questions? Yeah, Victoria, there's no losing agendas, right? I mean, how many times does my own son brings his iPad, my daughter brings her iPad, she's at elementary school, brings her iPad. They never forget that, but they lose the agenda book all the time. And even if you did lose your phone, everything you've done is in the cloud. So let's get on the internet and you can pull it up from there, you know? So people don't lose their phones very often, not nearly as much as they forget their agenda book. It's all legible. It's all searchable. It's all, I didn't show this to you, but it's all, they can collaborate. You can add a collaborator and share this with somebody so you can work on a note together. It really, to me, is a big solution and interfaces well with their calendars. So, cool. Yes, you got to check out Read and Write for Google Chrome. If you're a Google school, you already have it. That particular tool is free for any educator, and all the premium features are free. So go and check it out. Yeah, Kathleen, what one? I mean, quick story here in the last minute. There was a science teacher at Valley who she had a student that her the student had cancer, and ended up getting the student a laptop because she was forgetting lots of stuff. Her chemo was affecting her memory, and so we showed her Google Keep, and she was writing all these things down. I mean, typing things using Google Keep. She goes into her biology class. She shows her biology teacher how she's using Google Keep. Biology teacher says, "Wait a second, why don't I use this with all my students?" And she brings it up and shows all of her students. Now all of the way they take notes on everything is in Google Keep. So all of their biology notes are in Google Keep, organized just how I would use the example. So they can go back and search it and find it and collaborate on it. The entire classroom now uses it. What started as an accommodation or for one student with special needs turned into a strategy for everybody. So I hope you use it. I'm going to sign off here now. Thank you for coming. I'll let you get to your next one. And I got to rock this whole thing again. So I hope this was worthwhile for you. And if you do, send me an email. I hope to hear how you're using it. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for coming. Pull this back over here.